another one.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are we late?
I haven't
Yes.
taken
Okay.
roll
Who else
yet.
here? Let's count.
Here, Bethany's here. No, we're going to ask just you now.
I can't even remember. Where is it in the? Okay. We're good. We're good. You're good. Thank you. Remember that. Yeah. I got it.
I have everybody Haywood.
Okay. M. Johnson. Where did M. Johnson go? I do too, so that's 14. I'm going to call the Planning Committee to order. We are a little behind schedule, so I'll try to get us back on. So we'll begin with Resolution RS 2017-709, sponsors Elrod and Allen. This authorizes Mello PGA Incorporated to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 423 Broadway. I have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Is there a motion? I think it's been moved and seconded, not very enthusiastically. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Resolution is recommended. Next is RS 2017-710, sponsors Elrod and Allen, authorizes Whiskey Row Nashville LLC to construct and install an aerial encroachment at 400 Broadway. A letter from the sponsor to approve. Is there a motion? Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Resolution is recommended. Now we are on bills on second reading. Next is BL 2017-608, sponsors Hagar, Roten, and others, amends the Metro Code to establish district land uses for short-term rental property owner-occupied and short-term rental property not owner-occupied, and establishing a phase-out date in year 2021 for short-term rental property not owner-occupied. Do I have a motion? Been moved and seconded. Councilmember Hagar.
Yeah, I want to let everybody know on the committee what we plan on doing on this. I'm asking, the 608, of course, as everybody knows, is to phase out the non-owner occupied in the R and RS districts. What I'm asking the committee to do today is to pass this through the committee, and then we'll vote on it tomorrow night at council. On third reading, I will defer it till July and re-refer it back to this committee, because by then we've got several amendments that are going to be proposed, and that'll give us a chance to meet on these. I think Council Lady Berkeley Allen wants to have a meeting with all of us up here again, but we'll have to give public notice on that. So I'm asking committee today to go ahead and pass this, and on third reading, I will defer it and re-refer it back to this committee to discuss all those. By then we'll have all these amendments, and then the third reading will be sometime in July is when I'll pass it too. Thank you.
So we have a motion to pass this, and with the understanding that we will defer on third reading.
Correct.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-711, sponsors Cooper, Elrod, and Allen, authorizes the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, property rights for use in public projects for the Hobson Pike sidewalk improvements. I have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-712, sponsors Pridemore, Cooper, and others, authorizes the acquisition of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights for use in public projects for purposes of Delaware Avenue sidewalk improvements. I have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Is there a motion? It's been enthusiastically moved and seconded, and I appreciate that. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-713, sponsors Murphy, Elrod, and Allen. Amends a new sanitary sewer main, manholes, and easements for property located at 4101 Ridgefield Drive and 2011 Innsworth Place. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-714, sponsors Kendall, Elrod, and Allen, accepts a new tenant, sanitary sewer manhole, fire hydrants, and any associated easements for property located at 350 22nd Avenue North. I have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-715, sponsors Elrod and Allen, accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Roundwood Forest Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located at 3617 and 3621 Roundwood Forest Drive. I have a letter from the sponsor to approve. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-716, sponsors Elrod and Allen, accepts permanent and temporary easements for the Van Buren Street Stormwater Improvement Project for properties located at 101A and 101 Van Buren Street. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2017-717, sponsors Van Reese, Elrod, and Allen, changes the name of a portion of Due West Avenue to West Due West Avenue. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-718, sponsors Elrod and Allen, authorizes Drury Nashville LLC to install, construct, and maintain underground and aerial encroachments in the right-of-way located at 315 3rd Avenue South. Do I have a motion? Oh, it's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2016-360, sponsors Hurt Leonardo, changes 10.0 acres from AR2A to IWD zoning for property located at 3920 Stewart's Lane. Do you have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Oh, sorry. Councilmember Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this item was, it says refer to Planning Commission. So do we have a result of the Planning Commission referral?
Let the planning staff speak.
No, it has not yet been back to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. So I think procedurally, maybe we could not pass until we get recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Ordinance, but it's already been approved.
It's been
You need the approval of the planning committee before.
say that into there.
All right, we do need a recommendation from the planning committee before this could be passed on third. My understanding is you have a recommendation from the planning commission on the base. I don't understand the basis for the reapproval, what the sponsor sought there, but we do have the underlying recommendation.
So is there a motion to defer until we hear from the Planning Commission? Councilmember Nick Leonardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is my legislation. What we've done is they wanted a zone change, and so we've amended it to make it an SP to make it more stringent. And so it's some sort of process that has to come before this committee. And so I was just seeking approval, and then tomorrow I'm going to defer it and send it back to the planning department and see if the commission wants to hear it again. So I was just, part of the process was just seeking the approval. But they did approve the first time around, but this is more stringent conditions that we're seeking to place on there.
Okay, that's a helpful explanation. Let's see, I have other council members in the queue. Councilmember Glover.
So let me just, if you don't mind, Chair, I'd like to ask the sponsor, if it's going to be referred or re-referred back to the Planning Commission, once they finish a recommendation, if there's anything crazy, he could then ask for it to be re-referred back to this committee, correct?
You could?
Yes, according to council, it could.
And
That's
so
correct.
my understanding is he needs the approval, and so, and he's still got control of it, and he can come back to us if the sponsor saw fit. All right,
I think that's a good assessment.
and I'll support it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and we'll, sorry. Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do appreciate our sponsor's intent, but however, as of right now, I do not have anything to approve it, so it will be, to me, comfortable if the sponsor is going to defer at the committee and state what he's going to do tomorrow. So that would be, to me, just kind of give me at ease.
Okay, procedurally, Mr. Jameson.
So the sponsor has approval from the Planning Commission on the base zoning, IWD. He has elected to instead make this an SP. If that SP is as or more restrictive than the IWD, then the Planning Commission will tell you that their initial approval applies. So he doesn't necessarily need that re-referral recommendation for you. They've already done it on the base zoning. He has indicated what he's going to bring back will be at least equally, if not more restrictive than the IWD. So I think that should be the assurance you're looking for.
Well, if that's the clarification, I would support the sponsor then. Thank you.
Thank you. Then, can I say we have a 14-0 approval? Okay, thank you. Appreciate the discussion. Next, we're on BL 2017-653, sponsors Allen and Bedney. Amends the Metro Code to revise the list of acceptable documents establishing owner occupation. Do we have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Did I skip a page?
Skip 11?
I think I did. Yes, I circled the wrong one, excuse me. Okay, pardon me, I skipped BL 2017-611, as amended by Bedney, disapproved by Planning Commission 8-0. This amends the Metro Code to require the consent of adjacent property owners, homeowner associations, and condominium associations or other such community associations prior to issuance of a short-term rental property. And I have a letter from the sponsor to approve and the sponsor. Councilmember Bedney.
Yeah, the caption is wrong. We removed the portion asking the neighbors to sign off on it.
What's the process for changing the caption of a bill?
My understanding is the sponsor's going to defer this to track with 608 through
Yeah, but the
July.
caption is wrong, and I was going to ask people to approve it today and defer, yes.
I would move to defer it to track with 608 to the first meeting in July.
Yeah, I want to defer, but I wanted to approve and defer.
Well, you mean on third reading in July? Approve it here and then move third reading? Okay. You can do that and amend it or substitute it on third. It's a Title 17 bill.
Okay, so that's the motion to approve tonight with the intention to defer on third.
So it tracks with his legislation.
Okay. But
Yes.
my point was that you want to see what happens to 608 before you move your bill. So tracking exactly.
Oh,
what
I
is-
got you.
Right.
Okay, well, that's where you get to pay the big bucks.
bucks.
So I guess I'm deferring today.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer to,
July 6th.
so we will defer this to July 6th.
And if I can get that caption fixed, that'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman
All right,
Coleman.
it's been moved to defer to July 6th. All those in favor? Oops, Councilmember Glover, okay. Any opposed? Thank you. Great, turn you off. Now we're back in order. Next is BL 2017-654, sponsors Wiener, Rosenberg, and others. Amends the Metro Code to substitute place of worship or religious institution for church. Been moved and seconded, and I do have a letter from the sponsor. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2017-655, sponsor is Murphy. Changes 1312 acres from OG and RM40 to SP zoning for property located at 109 and 123 Bosley Springs Road to permit a mixed-use development. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Murphy.
I would like to defer one meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to defer one meeting. All in favor? Any opposed? Bill is deferred one meeting. Next is BL 2017-667. Sponsor is Anthony Davis. Applies 72.61 acres of a neighborhood conservation overlay district for various properties along Eastdale Avenue, East Riverwood Drive, Eastdale Place, Riverwood Drive, and Plymouth Avenue, east of Gallatin Pike. I have a letter from the sponsor, and I have the sponsor. Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017. Yes, sir. Hold on.
Sorry, there is a substitute.
I did not know that. Okay, let's back up. Councilmember Anthony Davis, would you like to tell us about the substitute?
Yes, I did forget about that as well. We just had a small tweak. There was an address I think we were leaving out right next to Gallatin Road. Is that correct? And that's the substitute, or is it an amendment?
The substitute takes a property out of the proposed overlay, correct?
Gotcha. So if someone on the committee wants to move my substitute,
All right, we have
I would
moved the
appreciate it.
substitute. All in favor of the substitute? Any opposed? Now we're voting on the bill as substituted. Is there a motion? Been moved to vote on the bill as substituted. Seeing no discussion. All in favor? Any opposed? Bill is approved as substituted. Thank you. Next is BL 2017-668. Sponsor is Sledge. Changes 109.3 acres from R6 to R6A zoning for various properties located along Little Hamilton Avenue, Pillow Street, Rains Avenue, Mallory Street, Moore Avenue, Wingrove Avenue, Byram Avenue, Carville Avenue, Neal Terrace, Allison Place, Martin Street, Stewart Place, Southgate Avenue, Hamilton Avenue, Merritt Avenue, and Wedgwood Avenue. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Sledge.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to let the committee know, tomorrow I will be asking to suspend the rules for a substitute here. It does not change one property in or out. It is simply to correct some typographical errors. But I would ask for your approval on this, and then we'll do the substitute tomorrow.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? So, okay. Next is BL 2017-669. Sponsor is Hagar. Changes 6.89 acres from CS to R6A zoning for various properties along Keaton Avenue and Rayon Drive south of Bridgeway Avenue. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-670. Sponsor is Pulley. Applies 62.83 acres of a contextual overlay district for various properties on Audubon Road, Dale Avenue, Galloway Drive, Glendale Lane, Gray Oaks Drive, Leland Lane, Milesdale Court, Milesdale Drive, Scenic Drive, and Tower Place, located north of Battery Lane. I have a letter from the sponsor and the sponsor. Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-671. Sponsor is Anthony Davis and Withers. Changes 0.84 acres from STP to R6 zoning for properties located at 2305, 2309, 2313, 2317, and 2321 Pennington Avenue. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-672. Sponsor is Sledge. Changes 2.88 acres from R8 to R6A zoning for various properties along Summit Avenue east of 12th Avenue. Do I have a motion? Been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-673. Sponsor is Scott Davis. Disapproved by Planning Commission 801. Changes 0.4 acres from RS5 to RM20 zoning for property located at Sharp Avenue, unnumbered, west of Ellington Parkway. And I have a letter from the sponsor to approve, and the sponsor is their motion. Been moved and seconded. Councilmember Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Planning staff over there, could you remind us why this was disapproved by Planning Commission?
Yes, the land use policy for the area is neighborhood evolving, and the property is located within the interior of an established area. There is the alley at the rear of the property is unimproved, and the proposed zoning would permit an intensity at this location that is inconsistent with the existing surrounding land use pattern. And we look more for a transition from the corridor if we're going to have additional density in evolving areas.
Thank you. So this is a straightforward zone change, not specific. So just RS5 to RM20?
Correct.
So that will allow up to 8 units, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. I think I understand, the district council member, Scott Davis, trying to do, I understand it's a vacant lot. But I feel in this specific location, it would be more appropriate and rhythm if there is specific development. So I feel instead of straightforward zone change, if a developer or sponsor can submit some specific plan, I should be able to support it. But as of right now, I have a hard time supporting just this straightforward zone change.
Thank you. Councilmember Kathleen Murphy.
Do we have a picture of the overview of this property?
We're working on it.
Like a Google Earth version is what I'm looking for.
Let's see. Where did Rosie go? Ah, good job, Brandon. So can you, planning, can y'all explain, is that an unimproved alley or a railroad track or?
Correct. To the west of the property is a railroad track. South of the property is an unimproved alley. And then north of the property, and this is the property outlined in red, and the street ends just before the property. So there's unimproved right-of-way in front of the street as well.
So that's what I was thinking. I didn't know if it was a tree canopy that we couldn't see the road. Is this something where like the property owner would do the street improvement, or would Metro have to come back and do a street improvement, or how does that work?
With a building permit, if this were to go through and they came to codes for a building permit, then they would have to have construction plans approved to improve the street in front of the property.
Okay, and would this trigger our sidewalk, the sidewalk requirements that we've passed Council Lady Henderson's legislation?
Yeah, this is within the urban zoning overlay, so yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Scott Davis.
As we can see, this is a landlocked property. You have a railroad track to the left side of it, and this is a property that's consistently dumped on. And as we saw during Planning Commission and during second reading, there was no opposition, because when people find out where the street location is, they feel that almost anything is better. And because of the improvements that any developer will have to do, and because there is also a creek that runs through there, it will be very difficult for any kind of RS5 or RS6, zoning, to be approved. Also, it's right behind where the site of what my proposed waste transfer station that thankfully to the council we disapproved would have gone. So it's right behind the inner city ministry building now, which is currently an IWD zone industrial building. And so with the density belongs against the railroad track. And so it's already going to be a complex project for anybody, even with the RM20. And that's why we received no neighborhood opposition. In fact, neighbors have asked if I could rezone that property a higher density to get that vacant lot in front of it. That is a wooded area that people hide oil drums and all kinds of not so nice things back there. And so I am asking for approval to clean up a blighted piece of property, because lots of times that kind of zoning, it's got rid of blighted trailer parks and also crazy looking lots. And with the setbacks of the RM20, it allows for some more flexibility. And once again, it will trigger the new sidewalk legislation, which will improve that street tremendously, which there is no sidewalks on that one side of the street already. And also they'll be required to improve the alley, and also they've been working with stormwater, and so this will improve the area tremendously. But thank you. I'm asking for the committee's support in passing this.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson, you must speak again. Recognized.
Thank you. If I may, I would like to ask sponsor the question. like I said, I do appreciate your effort and try to, clean up the neighborhood, and I am all for it. But is there any specific plan? Because I would think neighbor would appreciate straightforward zone change, what kind of housing pattern will be there, since seems like that neighborhood is up and coming, everybody's coming in, kind of start upgrading and putting lots of time and effort and make it a little bit prettier. So I would assume they would appreciate a little bit more specific than straightforward zone change, not knowing what's coming. Is there any rush to change the zone change, or any property owner will have some specific for that location?
Oops, hang on. Councilmember Davis.
That area is a little bit different. That area, if I can say this, it's a more blighted area. If you drive behind, that's cut off from the Greenwood areas. That's one of those areas in my district that you will not be hanging out at. Like me and Councilman Withers were discussing, that's an area where it's kind of, I wouldn't call it a no man's zone, very isolated. And that's why getting some sort of activity down there is a lot helpful. Because, you got behind it, you got an intense industrial area. You got a railroad track. And sometimes when people went through and classified things, past council people, RS5, it prevents, blighted areas like that from being redeveloped, which once was possibly a commercial zoning or an industrial zoning on there. But as my colleague to my right would tell you, because that's an area that's kind of close to his area on the other side of Gallatin. This is one of the, I don't want to call it a no person's land, but it's one of the areas that have been forgotten. And, it will take so long to work through the process. I respect the planning staff and the commission's, opinion, but to get rid of that blight right there, once again, neighbors have no issue, because once they go down there and they see zero sharp, that's why it's called zero sharp. There's nothing established down there. Like, there's some neighborhoods established around there, but they're not the kind of up and coming, area that we're all thinking about. We have some pretty significant work to do down there, and this is just getting the ball rolling.
Thank you. Councilmember Hurd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a difficulty also approving some legislation that the Planning Commission disapproves. I don't know if it's anything that can be done because I consider them to be the experts on what it is that they're doing, and I don't know if there's any, if they actually go out to the location or what type of research is actually done. And quite a few of these kinds of legislations where it's been disapproved has been in Councilman Davis's district. And so I don't know if this is appropriate time, but I would request that some more activity between the council person and the Planning Commission takes place before they bring it back to this body for us to act on.
Thank you. Councilmember Murphy.
I know that we've talked a lot in this district about that the planning staff was going to get with the community and look at changing the community plan here. And what is the current community plan?
The land use policy for this area is neighborhood evolving, urban neighborhood evolving. This was not one of the areas that was studied when we did make the recent changes to the East Nashville community plan.
And when was this downzoned to RS5?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay. If they developed under RS5, would they still have to do the sidewalks and extend the street?
If they pulled the building permit after July 1st, they would be required, the sidewalk would be triggered, but I believe in this location, they would also have the option to pay the in lieu contribution if they chose not to build the sidewalk. They would have to provide street access to the property as well. So it depends sort of how that frontage and right-of-way and where the pavement ends for what they would have to provide.
And it looks like this lot could be divided into two lots, and so if it previously had been like an R5, then they would be able to get potentially 4 homes here?
It's possible that it could be subdivided, though if you subdivided that smaller frontage along Sharp, they would have to provide access to both homes.
Okay, and I know that this is a little bit of a reaching question, but if this were to develop by right before or after our sidewalk bill goes into effect, would they have to provide the street and build the street all the way, like across the frontage of Sharp, or just enough frontage to their front drive?
I think that it would be referred both to Public Works and to the fire marshal to determine not just if the frontage needed to be built out, but if some sort of turnaround was required, either in the form of a cul-de-sac or a T-type turnaround. But that determination would be made by Public Works in conjunction with the fire marshal when the permit's requested.
Okay, so whether it develops under this RM20 or under the base zoning of RS5, they're going to have to go through Public Works and potentially expand it all the way to the railroad track?
That would be their determination at that time. I think for a single family, it's probably less likely that that happens than for 8 units.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Glover.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to support the sponsor on this because, I mean, he did have the public hearing. He knows his district. He represents his district. And while I appreciate that we're all questioning this and whatnot, I think he did his due diligence with this, and I didn't hear anybody speak against it. So I'm going to support you. Thank you.
Councilmember Davis. Hurry up again.
We've had recently a lot of policy amendments. I think I spend more time with the planning staff than most council members do. But sometimes, because of the way weird properties are, sometimes it's hard for us to come to come together. I've passed over 100 zoning bills in this chamber, and this will probably be number 10 out of 120 that have been disapproved. And looking at the property and the blight, and we all know, people in my district, if they have a concern, they'll show up. We know that for a fact. And, and sometimes people have to agree to disagree. Now, whatever people do in their areas, I've never jumped out there and tried to control or tried to tell you what to do in your neighborhood. Now, looking at this piece of property and considering my track record of passing way more approved bills than disapproved bills on this floor, and the time I've spent with Carrie, Doug, and Bob in the neighborhood, going down, finding this blighted piece of property, and having a philosophical discussion on what do we do with this, I think it's a waste of our time and this chamber's time, to do this, because go over there. Councilman Pulley has taken tours of my neighborhood and understands that, there's blight in a lot of areas that the policy may not fit. And right now, there's no policy that fits this. It's in an area that, that you're not going to be hanging out at. You're not going to be sitting there like, what do we do here? We have a policy that fits this. It does not work here. You see the railroad track. You see the industrial building, below it. That's a difficult parcel to develop. Now, if folks want to volunteer to come over there and clean up and look at it, just like Councilman Pulley, if I take you down there, and which I've done with other council members, you'll be like, oh, I didn't realize it. And, my colleague to my right, who has been over here, who understands, like, yeah, this is kind of weird. He's one of the first people that will be like, hey, this is crazy. This is unrealistic. But once you visit that area, you'll look at me like, I get it. I may not necessarily agree, Councilman Davis, but I get it, And so I'm asking once again for this committee to approve my 130th zoning bill in this chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hagar.
As y'all know, when we had this at Planning Commission, that was the night that we had the discussion about 608, so I was there at about 1 o'clock.
So was I.
So I'm quite aware of Councilman Davis's bill here. I listened to the pros and cons of that bill, and what I heard mostly was this was just a dumping ground. And what people do is they come down to the end of that street and they dump. And at one time, I know there was some drugs in that area as well. So when I looked at it and listened to the pros and cons, I said, well, if people are going back there dumping, then what he has proposed is better than what's there now. And hopefully, you know, they'll build something nice back there. And of course, you got to look at it also. It's next to a railroad track. So sometimes that doesn't appeal to people to live next to a railroad track. If you can put something back there that's affordable, that some affordable workforce housing in that area, then I will have to support it, even though I know the Planning Commission disapproved it.
Thank you. Councilmember Mina Johnson, you want to speak again?
Thank you so much. I totally understand, and I do appreciate district council members' effort, and I get it. And if there is, you know, that particular section, I don't think, you know, RS5 will not fit it. I totally get it. But I think, you know, this particular corner was caught in the policy and reality. And for the principal reason, I will not oppose it, but I will be abstaining to voting for this bill.
Thank you.
But I will support, I do appreciate district council members' effort.
Councilmember Hurt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I, too, and I have been in that district, and I've seen that, and I do believe what the councilman is saying. But I don't understand why the staff and planning can't see it. If you have other council people who understand and can see it, why is it that they cannot? I'm just trying to get an understanding of how we can come to some compromise. And if the planning department needs to be more supportive in situations like this or more understanding, I'm just asking of that, because without me being an expert, I rely upon them to help me make my determinations.
Right.
And please, I would like for someone to respond.
I'll respond, and then I'll let them add to it if they want to. What I have seen is the planning staff reviews things strictly from how this fits with the general plan. Their task is to look at this from a planning standpoint, and how does Nashville Next inform whether this is consistent with the policy or not. Our job is slightly different, which is to look at it from a councilmatic standpoint that allows us the opportunity to bring other factors into it, which I think is what Councilman Davis frequently does. So that being said, they have a slightly different set of criteria than we do, and I'll let y'all add to that if you would like to.
And from a planning perspective, we're looking at not just the land use policy, but things like the locational criteria, what's the both vehicular and pedestrian access. So those are the types of planning related issues that we look at exclusively in our role, and the Planning Commission as well.
So is it nothing that you all could do to in cases such as this, or incidents such as this, to make it easier and more comfortable on council who's not familiar to make a decision?
Again, I'll intercept just to say we're going to look at another bill that's coming up where there's a substitute where the council member worked with planning. They came up with something that they agreed with and he agreed with. So in those 100 bills that they've done, they've certainly have done a lot of working together. So I'll let you finish.
The commission also discussed the possibility of looking at an SP with more details and some clarity around what the design would be, the number of unit, and that types of things. The issue was that they did not have an SP in front of them. So if we were to review an SP, we could go back and look at it for those types of additional planning issues, if you will. But what was in front of us was the straight rezoning to RM20.
Okay, thank you. And thanks to Councilman Leonardo for explaining the SP, because now that makes a little bit more sense to me.
Right. Specific plan is a great tool. Seeing no one else in the queue, we currently have a motion to approve on the floor and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? One abstaining. Thank you. Good discussion. All right, I turned the page and wrote it in the wrong place. Just a minute. Next, we are on BL 2017-674. Sponsor is Mina Johnson. This changes 123.01 acres from R20 to RM4 and RM4 to SP zoning for property located at Old Hickory Boulevard, unnumbered, south of Ridge Lake Parkway, to permit residential uses and include environmentally sensitive design standards within the SP. Do I have a motion? Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-675. Sponsor is Mina Johnson. Cancels 123.01 acres of a planned unit development for property located at Old Hickory Boulevard, unnumbered, south of Ridge Lake Parkway. Is there a motion? Been moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue for discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-676. Sponsor is Pulley. Changes 0.3 acres from OR20 to SCR property zoning for property located at 2101 Crestmore Drive. Is there a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-677. Sponsor is Sledge. Amends 1.83 acres of a specific plan for property located at 1440 and 1500 12th Avenue South and Wedgwood Avenue, unnumbered, to increase units from a maximum of 150 to a maximum of 175 residential units. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-678. Sponsor is Scott Davis. Disapproved as submitted, approved with substitute by Planning Commission. And 0 changes 6.75 acres from CN and RS5 to MULA zoning for properties located along McFerrin Avenue, Seymour Avenue, West Eastland Avenue, and Cleveland Street. Do I have a motion? And just for some clarification, does the substitute need to be moved, or has it already come through?
Not come through, it needs to be moved.
Okay, I think we need to move the substitute. Do we have a hold on. Do we have a substitute officially written and ready? Yes, okay, so we're moving the substitute. All those in favor of the substitute? Any opposed? Great. And we have a motion to approve as substituted. All those in favor? Any opposed? Good job. Next is BL 2017-679. Sponsors Withers and Hurt. Applies 0.79 acres of a neighborhood landmark overlay district for property located at 901 Dalebrook Avenue. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-680. Sponsors Leonardo and Hurt. Applies 125.56 acres of an urban design overlay district for properties located along Clarksville Pike, Buena Vista Pike, Dry Fork Road, and Lloyd Road. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no discussion, no one in the queue. All those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-681. Sponsor is Sledge. Cancel 0.17 acres of a planned unit development overlay district for property located at 622 Southgate Avenue. Do I have a motion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing no one in the queue, all those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-682. Sponsors Withers and Scott Davis. Changes 5.32 acres from MUGA R6 and RS5 to SP MU zoning for properties located at 1101 and 1108 Gallatin Avenue, 1105, 1107, 1109, 1111 Sharp Avenue and Sharp Avenue unnumbered, 1048 and 1050 West Greenwood Avenue, and 1110 Greenwood Avenue to permit a mixed-use development. It's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question for Mr. Jamieson. I am receiving some very late correspondence from constituents with a couple of technical questions about this project that primarily pertain to departmental reviews, and I'm not certain to what extent I'll be able to resolve those this evening, but if there were an instance in which I needed to make or desired to make a late filed amendment, what would be that deadline for getting that in tomorrow, or would I just need to do it from the floor?
Well, the deadline has sadly passed, so you do it from the floor, move to suspend the rules. If you can get it to me nonetheless, it always helps council members to see it in writing, and we'll draft whatever you can get to us as soon as you can get to us.
Thank you, Mr. Jameson. I'll touch base with the planning staff and maybe with those departments just really quickly to see what, if anything, can be done, or at least if some additional information is available that I can distribute to neighbors. And with that, I move approval.
Thank you. Does that also require a meeting with the Rules Committee?
It does, but we can submit a letter on your behalf.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Bill is recommended. Next is BL 2017-683, sponsors Blaylock and Swope. I have a note to defer indefinitely. Do I have a motion? Been moved and seconded. Do we vote?
Nope.
We don't even vote. Done. Next is BL 2017-684, sponsors Henderson and Withers, amends the Metro Code regarding the dedication of right-of-way and minimum lot size. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Mina Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There's a request for roll call vote for this one.
Okay. Roll call vote. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Glover.
Okay, I guess if there's a roll call vote, I guess I need to fully understand what it is we're doing here, and apparently I don't. And who's requesting the roll call vote?
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, I was being contacted by the Chamber of Commerce policy people, so they wanted to ask to have a roll call vote.
Chamber. Okay, Mr. Jameson, can you explain the bill?
Sure. So this deals with the set-aside. This was occasioned by the passage of the sidewalk bill, Council Lady Henderson's, I think I called it her legacy legislation when we first spoke about it. So when a right-of-way dedication is required for an existing lot, when you're going to set aside the right-of-way for future sidewalks, if that can be divided into two or more provisions that each meet the minimum lot size, the minimum lot area is calculated as if the area was measured prior to the dedication. So you're looking at the whole lot. All this does is extend that in what is note 2 beneath it to existing lots that already meet the minimum size. And I will absolutely defer to Council Lady Henderson, who's been studying this far longer than I have.
Council Lady Henderson.
That's very well described. This was in response to discussions with the builder community as part of 493 as it relates to sidewalk requirements and just making sure that those did not, when dedicating right-of-way for the purpose of construction of sidewalks, that did not adversely affect the lot size for development purposes.
If I recall correctly, the Chamber submitted a letter to the Council in full support of 493, so my assumption, I've not heard from them, my assumption is they would likewise be in support of this measure, I'm guessing.
Yes, they have submitted, in fact, I think a letter of support for this as well to the Planning Commission, I believe. I think I was CC'd on that. Is that correct, Carrie?
Yes.
Thank you. So I assume they are the folks asking for the roll call. It was not I.
Okay. So, any other discussion? So seeing none, all those in favor, raise your hand high, and we will count you. Hold it.
Unanimous.
Is it unanimous?
Or is there anybody in opposition?
Any opposed? Fair enough. Okay. Thank you. All right. Are there any late filed amendments or items? Seeing none, I will declare the Planning Committee meeting over. Stick around for affordable housing.